Hey again, Warhawks, Colonel Wilson. We are in Season 2, Episode 16, Chapter 64 overall. As always, I am joined here again with my wingman, Chief Mike Morgan, the Command Chief, 37 Training Wing. Happy Friday to all. As you can see, we got a couple of guests here with us. I love, Chief, when we have guests, especially superior NCOs who have been recognized for amazing work. Excited to have the two of them here today. We are going to introduce real quick. We have our Blue Rope of the Year. For those that aren't familiar with the Blue Rope of the Year and what that means, it's our coveted designation for our military training instructors that have gone through a battery of different task evaluations to be the best of the best. What's the top X percent?
Top 10%.
Top 10%. See, I knew he'd know that. Top 10% of our military training instructors. And we have Tech Sergeant Austin Meier, our Master Military Training Leader of the Year for the 37th Training Group. We've got two really distinguished, sharp NCOs excited to get into this. Chief, what do you think?
So I think, this is probably one of the best times of the year as we start closing out annual awards and we start really highlighting the successes of the team over the past 12 months, and we get to start celebrating. Being around and going out and spending time with the Warhawks and the trainees and the airmen in training, you always see a few different people, and they're always the superstars that they put up in front of you. And seeing these two up here as representatives of their functional path in this special duty assignment is no surprise at all. Yeah.
So that's an important point you just made. Special duty assignment. So we talk about how the 37 Training Wing is selectively manned. We're not just saying that. It is. There is a rigorous process to go through to be identified as a military training instructor and a military training leader. They're vetted very closely, and it's only the top quartile of airmen that get selected to do this. Now, we think about that. So you guys are already in the amongst the best of the best as NCOs. Now you're identified amongst that group and highlighted. So these are some pretty superior performers that we're dealing with right here. I would dare say the top 1% of NCOs in our Air Force that we've got here, and I'm sure they're going to start blushing here a little bit. So fortunately, they got their masks on, so that's good. Hey, we'll start off. We'll kind of go from my right to my left here. Sergeant Meier, you tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us the unit you're with. Tell us how you came to be a military training leader and what led you to accomplish what you've accomplished as a military training leader of the year.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. So I have a family of 3. So I am married. I have a wife. And I have one daughter. So her name is Scotland. My wife's name is Chinsia. I am at the 344th Training Squadron. We're right next door to the Security Forces
Spartans,
Squadron.
right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we right next to the Security Forces. We have 13 AFSCs over there at our squadron. So we have a very diverse squadron that we're dealing with, and it keeps us on our toes at all times because we have airmen, very high turnover rate. We got airmen coming in and out every week. We usually we're getting all of his brand new airmen every Friday, and then we're turning out probably 50 to 60 into the operational Air Force every week as well. But I can't give enough credit to the leaders that I've had in my career. That's brought me to this point and to the DSD cycle. I was in the fire department before here.
Fired up?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Spent my last 7 years before coming here at Davis Monthan Air Force Base. So a nice long tenure there, but very thankful for it. I had some great supervisors there, great fire chiefs that mentored me and really taught me the lessons of discipline there. There's a very, very organized structure in the fire department. And so I think that helped me stay focused on focusing on what my job was at any given time while I was there. And that helped me just create that discipline on my own of let me focus on doing my job and doing my job as best as I can.
Well, clearly you've done a great job. So I will tell you, outside of the 37 Training Wing, and those that haven't been part of the training enterprise, they get very confused about what he does and what you do. I see you got this cool little thing, this aguilette, right? Most people, it's kind of fun to say, don't understand what that is or what that means for you all. Would you mind walking us through what a military training leader does versus what a military training instructor does, and what the designation of the aguilette, what the color means for you when people approach you to understand a little bit better and more about the MTLs.
Yes, sir. So military and training instructors, obviously, they are at basic training, and we are, as MTLs, we take over the airmen that they send us once they graduate from BMT at tech training. So MTLs are usually only at tech training squadrons, and while they are with us, we are their first line supervisors. We are in charge of the dormitories, making sure that the dorms are being maintained well. The airmen are cleaning their rooms, smaller things like that. We're also dealing with, as their first line supervisors, we're dealing with any personal issues that they have, whether it's family issues or if it's financial stuff, any of the professional things going on, if they're struggling with their training, if they just need help, maybe moving their family out to where their first base is going to be. And then obviously there's also the disciplinary things that we deal with as well, usually on a weekly basis, so working closely with the first sergeant or the commander at times. Just giving insight, advising as best we can on the situation and what we know about the airmen and the situation. And then all the other things that is our main job, and in processing all the airmen every week from BMT. Out processing them, like I said, is a very it keeps us very busy, being a diverse squadron that we have. Reclassing the airmen if they have washed out, whether it's academics or if it's a medical reason, they're not meeting the mark, and then we deal with the discharges as well. So it's a pretty busy time, week to week, in this job, but it's definitely taught me a lot, and very thankful for it.
I'm going to play ignorant for just a minute, so bear with me here. So Sergeant Meier, you take them and you just basically kind of treat them the same way the military training instructors. You march them all over the installation. You make them do calisthenics. You take them out for morning PT. You take them to the DFAC and make sure they get fed, making sure that they're. Do I have all that right?
No, sir.
No, I don't.
No, sir.
I don't have any of that right. Okay, so would you walk through a little bit of that, because I think that's where people maybe get a little bit confused. I think you did a really good job explaining it, but it's vastly different, the environment you're trying to facilitate, and what Sergeant Figueroa, who we'll get to here in a minute, what he's trying to do. Your charters are completely different.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Yeah. So they've become airmen since they've graduated from BMT. So one of our main focuses and our mindset going while they're in tech training is we're trying to make sure that they're getting ready for operational Air Force. And so they become airmen. Obviously, we are reiterating the lessons that they have learned at BMT. We're still doing some of the marching. We're not teaching it on the scale that he is, and on a daily basis like he is. And we're not marching the airmen around. We're letting them march on their own as their own small flights to get to where they need to be. We're doing some of the mass formations, not as often probably as he is. But like I said, definitely our main mindset is to try and make sure that they are being treated like adults, and they're getting ready to go operational in the Air Force, and they're self-motivated. So we're obviously trying to reiterate what he has taught them, but also mentor them at the same time on a daily basis to whatever growing up they need to do. We're trying to facilitate that.
So it's kind of a hybrid environment between basic military training and the operational Air Force. You guys are slowly phasing them in out of that mindset and into the operational Air Force mindset, getting ready to become airmen. So
yes, sir.
Thanks for all your efforts and what you do.
Oh, yes, sir. No, thank you.
And we have somebody else here with us. We have our Blue Rope of the Year, Tech Sergeant Cameron Figueroa from the 737th Training Group, formerly of the 323rd Training Squadron. Of course, he's doing Stand-Eval right now, so standards and evaluations, we tend to put those that have met certain milestones and accomplished certain amounts of success within their squadron, and because they're going to be essentially evaluating the performance of their peers, of those that were once doing what they're doing now. So Sergeant Figueroa, would you talk to us a little bit about your background, where you're coming from, your experience in coming in to become a military training instructor, and what being a Blue Rope and a Blue Rope of the Year means to you?
Absolutely, sir. So I come from a military family, so both my parents were in the Air Force. So naturally I just gravitated towards it. I'm contracting by trade, so I didn't come too far away. The schoolhouse is just right down the road.
So real quick, so the schoolhouse you came from is his current squadron.
Yes, sir.
How about that, huh?
Very small Air Force. At Buckley Air Force Base, got nominated for DSD MTI. At first I was a little hesitant, didn't want to do it because it's way outside my comfort zone. But my chief said some words at the time that I'm probably never going to forget. He said, "Trust me on this one, you'll thank me later." Fast forward, I definitely thank him later. The MTI special duty is probably one of the best special duties that the Air Force offers. In my biased opinion, it's definitely one of the best jobs out there for sure. So just like you mentioned prior, I did come from the 323rd, the Mustangs, and then I graduated to go into, luckily, the 737 training group for standardizations and evaluations.
It's great. How about the training environment? Your interaction with trainees, right? So that can be exhausting. We know that, but you've got a fire inside, and what keeps you renewed? You know, when you're picking up every single week, and you're every 7.5 weeks, every 8 weeks, you've got a new group that comes in. What keeps you motivated?
So I think Chief Master Sergeant Gaitan, our senior enlisted leader over at the training group, kind of said it best. So we're force generators for the future, for developing the next generation of airmen that are replacing all of us sitting here right now. And to think about the level of impact we have for those trainees is kind of crazy to think about, for better or worse. And absolutely, I want to be the best model when they get into the Operation Air Force. When they see MTLs, they can refer back and be like, dang, I want to be just like that when I get to that level. And just the fact that we're creating the next Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, the next Chief Staff of the Air Forces, if that doesn't motivate you, I don't know what will.
Man, that's great. That's great. So some really tough questions now. What's the last movie you saw? Last movie in a theater, not HBO Max, not Netflix.
Ooh. I was about to say I saw half of Dune the other night.
Oh, did you?
Because I fell asleep.
Would you? Oh boy, that's not overwhelmingly positive praise, sir, for that movie. It's a little bit longer. I wanted to see it.
I have an early bedtime now, being an MTL. Like, we stay busy.
Fair enough. You watched half of Dune. How about you, Sergeant Figueroa?
Quiet Place 2.
Ooh, good one. Good one.
I honestly can't remember the last time I was at a movie theater. I think it was definitely pre-COVID, and I don't want to say it was at a movie theater in Montgomery, Alabama when I was stationed at Maxwell. But what that movie was, couldn't tell you.
Couldn't tell.
Yeah.
Well, I got a little girl. She and I happen to like the same movies,
Yeah.
which is handy because I'm still a little kid. So we went and saw Shang-Chi, the latest MCU movie. So it's okay. But she liked it, which was all that I.
That's all that matters.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Because you're not actually watching the movie; you're building memories. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Try not to fall asleep halfway through the movie if I can help it. Because it's only like $15 a ticket, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, hey, thanks guys for being here. Any shout outs to family members that you guys wanted to make? Anybody watching? Anybody back in the group or the squadron? You don't have to say anything, but.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'll say hey to Master Sergeant Castro, my flight chief, my MTL team, Sergeant Martin, Sergeant Ingram, Sergeant Smith, Sergeant Scott, Sergeant Miller. Hey, thank you so much for all that you guys do. I definitely would not be here for all the hard work that you guys have done. So I really appreciate you guys.
Start figure out.
Got to shout out my OG family, the 323rd Mustangs, my current, Stanival, Chief G, for nominating me for this. I appreciate it.
Yeah, he's not a bad guy.
No.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Chief Gaitan is probably one of the best accountability partners and teammates you could ask for.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a leader. He's a leader of leaders. Yeah.
He's just a joy to work with.
Yeah.
We're blessed to have him on our team. Hey, we wanted to a couple other things going on. The colonel's list came out, Chief,
Yeah.
and we didn't do too bad.
We didn't.
We didn't do too bad. We had 4 individuals. Unfortunately, all 4 have PCS'd, but this last summer. But we feel blessed to have had them, to have gone through the process with them, to try and get them promoted and see them promoted is something. So we'll just read their names. I'll read one if you read the next one. Lieutenant Colonel, now Colonel Select Jeff Brassey, who was the commander of the 332nd Training Squadron. If you read the name, I'll tell them where they work.
That'll work.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Because Chief was pretty new to the scene.
So Colonel Select Gary Moore.
And Gary was the deputy commander for Air Force Basic Military Training, the 737 Training Group. Lieutenant Colonel, now Colonel Select Jeff Simmons, who was the 37 Training Wing Inspector General. Before that, he was the 318th Training Squadron Squadron Commander over at IAFA.
Yeah.
How about that?
And then Lieutenant Colonel, now Colonel Select Chio Stallworth, who's actually working as the AETC Commander's exec And he is an amazing leader. He came out of the 737th TRIS,
That's right.
supporting day-to-day operations for the line squadrons and a bunch of the behind-the-scene things that we need to make basic military training the success that it is.
So to have one in a wing in 1 year is good. And we had 4.
Yes.
So that's great. So congratulations to all of you. We miss y'all.
Yeah.
We hope you're all doing the best. So many thanks. Innovation, something we've talked about before. We had Jay Bear on as a host, I think a couple of months ago. Jay Bear, Miss Jennifer Bear, who leads up our innovation efforts for the 37 Training Wing. We've got an innovation summit coming up. We sent it out in the Hawk Talk this week. It's a Zoom. So AETC, A9, Colonel Tom Wagner and his team will be walking through it, the I Summit. We've been big contributors this in the past. And why do you think we would be big contributors? Well, all we've done for the last 18 months is just innovate. If you don't believe me, you can ask General Brown, because he came here and talked about the 37 Training Wings innovation and be able to overcome COVID. But
Yeah.
that's kind of our culture, Chief.
Yeah, it is. And when it comes to innovation, one of the things I appreciate about our team is that a lot of people think about innovation as some sort of new technology or some new shiny toy or anything like that. But it's really people and processes that make things happen. You can have all the shiny toys in the world, right? But if you don't have a good process to employ it within, and you don't have good people to operate them, then none of it really matters. So most of the innovation we actually do is not technology; it's actually processes, and it's about taking care of people.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's you have to have the vision.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the technology can help you deliver it, but that's definitely not where the innovation lies. It's in our airmen for sure. And the Vice Chief of Staff of the Air Force came out with a note that I passed out to all our command teams and basically said, hey, they're going to be sending Air Force wide, half wide guidance on innovation each month. General Alman, the Vice Chief. And so we ramp up our innovation efforts. What I would say to any members, any Warhawks or any members of the team out there that's got innovation going on, if you haven't talked to Miss Jennifer Bear, Jay Bear here in the 37 Training Wing XP in our innovation shop, you need to go reach out to her, because sometimes you have barriers in your way that we can help overcome, whether it's resourcing, funding, or just getting advocacy to try and employ the different type of innovation that you're working on. She can help, and Chief and I are all about it. And so we'll break down those barriers for you.
Yeah, definitely.
We got a spouse meetup coming up next.
Yes, sir.
Not next week, the week after.
Yeah, 2 Thursdays.
2 Thursdays.
2 Thursdays,
We've
the
agreed
18th.
on this. We've agreed on this.
Yes.
Uh,
We're the 1 week, directly 1 week prior to Thanksgiving.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. There you go. That's a good way to put it. It's at 18:30. We're going to do it in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
We've done a couple of these in the past for spouse meetups during the day, and the feedback was, hey, we would really appreciate it if you would do it in the evenings when mom and dad can be at home, kids are at home. We have a little bit more bandwidth to be able to do this. So we're going to give it a shot, and we will look forward to seeing all our spouses out there on the meetup line. We're going to do it virtually. At this point, and so 18:30, 18 November, all spouses, not just key spouses, all spouses are invited. If you got a question, you'll have the ability to either come online and ask it in person. We would love that. Or you can just stay in the background, keep your microphone muted, keep your screensaver or your wallpaper up, and you can type in the question that you have. Heck, you can, for all we care, you can come in anonymous and ask your question. We don't want any barriers to asking any questions, so or providing us with feedback. Because without feedback, we can't get better. And then finally, Chief, we had some Warhawks of the week last week.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we went over and we visited with Technical Sergeant Araceli Contreras, who is a military training instructor by trade. But she's just knocking it out of the park. And it's not about the MTI stuff, it's about the NCO stuff.
That's right.
Yeah, just a phenomenal non-commissioned officer who is one, taking a look at what needs to be done, looking forward at what needs to be done, creating good processes to make sure that they get done, and all the while taking care of fellow airmen along the way and mentoring and molding them to be successful in the future. Yeah, it was actually really awesome to sit and talk with her. One of the things she's told us was she's getting ready to start her MBA, right? I mean, just constantly trying to be a little bit better and improve herself while helping the team come with her. So
I was amazed by her humility.
Yeah.
She was obviously surprised. She didn't know we were coming, but I could sense something about her that was like, You
Yeah.
know, just very, very humbled
Mhm.
and great and gracious about the whole thing. And so I enjoyed that visit. 331st Training Squadron, the Wolfpack. Well, so, and then we had Miss Kelly Wilbricht,
Yeah.
who is she's a civilian. She basically is the engine in the car that makes the 322nd Training Squadron go. And if you don't believe me, you can walk over there and you can ask them. She works in their orderly room. And is part of their support staff. I guess that's probably a better way to say it, support staff, because I think it's way more than just their CSS. But she's there every day. She's a mentor to young airmen over there. And she is an advisor to the command team. And she's just got a lot of continuity. It was really cool, and we really enjoyed visiting with her for a while. And, you know, why were we over there again?
Yeah, so we wanted to go over and talk to them. They just had a vertical inspection from our local inspector general, and they got a highly effective on an inspection. That's just it's
I
unheard
haven't
of.
seen it. I haven't seen it out of our IG. They're pretty stingy.
Yeah, and you know, we sat down, we talked with them a little bit, and you know, come to find out, really their key to success is just back to basics leadership. You know, they have leadership that cares. You know, they listen and then they take things for action. It's really all about day one leadership lessons for them, and they just do an amazing job building a culture where people feel heard and people, you know, want to be there, and it's a big family is what it is.
That's it. So you said leadership. I couldn't agree with you more, but I also said family.
Yeah.
It's a family, a culture of family. There's no mercenaries. There's nobody punching time clocks. And when you talk to Kelly, you know, said, what is it that you enjoy so much? What are you so passionate about? She's like, this is my family.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow. And you felt it. You could see it, you know, whether it was the MTIs trying to cover down for each other when it comes to shifts and scheduling and how they did that.
Yeah.
It was culture, and there's no way to translate culture into, you know, institutionalized culture.
Yeah.
That's something that happens organically through interaction of human beings. It's a human condition.
Mm-hmm.
But the human condition over there is really positive, and it resulted in a highly effective, the first of the kind. So congratulations to the 322nd Training Squadron. Job well done. And as a member of our Stanival team, he can go over there and he can see culture, got it, check. Everybody else, we need to see this culture over there. Yeah, it doesn't quite work like that.
I wish.
But there's a lot to that.
Yeah.
So at any rate, Chief, I think that's what we had to talk about. Again, gentlemen, it's been our pleasure, our sincere pleasure. Congratulations on all your success. Selectively, man, getting through the DSD and then being amongst the top of your peer group after going through the DSD process speaks volumes not only to what you're doing now, but your future potential in our United States Air Force. Very impressive.
Yeah.
Chief, we are headed out next week.
Yes, sir.
We won't get into specific details, but we're going out to visit our GSUs.
Yep.
We're going to hit Fort Lee in the 345th Training Squadron. We're going to hit Fort Leonard Wood in the 343rd Training Squadron operating location Bravo. And then we're going to make it over to the 344th Training Squadron Det 1 in Port Hueneme, California.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be awesome. And we look forward to seeing all the Warhawks out there that we don't get a chance to see in person all that often. We're going to see you here next week. So,
Yes, sir.
yes,
It's
sir.
gonna be a good trip.
Be great.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, as always, thanks very much to everybody out there for the support of the 37 Training Wing and the Warhawk mission. We are out. Warhawks train to win.